Okay, today we are going to work 6 steps, which is a type of factoring method. I'm going to work about 3 problems with you guys. Hopefully that will be enough to help you, muddle your way through this. This is not the only factoring method, but it is the one that I use in my classroom. I found that most students catch on to this just a little bit better. Okay, so the first problem that we're going to do is 5x squared minus 13x plus 6. All right, step 1 is you're going to multiply the first term and the last term together and get 30. First term and last term. Step 2, you're going to make a chart. You're going to put that 30 in, and you're going to want that 30 to add up to or sum up to a negative 13, which is right here. Now notice I've left all the x's and x squared off. I find that some students that's just a lot of writing and it gets a little confusing. So just hold tight on your x's. We'll come back to those. All right, so I have to know that a negative 1 times negative 30 gives me positive 30. A negative 2 and negative 15 give me a positive 30. A negative 3 and negative 10 give me positive 30. And a negative 5 and a negative 6 give me negative 30. Now, why did I pick the negatives and not the positives? Well, that's because I'm working with a negative 13. So I'll come over here and say negative 1 plus negative 30, and that gives me negative 31. Negative 2 plus negative 15 gives me negative 17. Negative 3 plus negative 10 gives me negative 13. And negative 5 plus negative 6 gives me a negative 11. What am I looking for? I am looking for negative 13. And there it is. So what were my two factors? Negative 3 and negative 10. Now, and I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to replace 13 with the 10 and the negative 10 and the negative 3. I'm also going to be thinking ahead here, and you'll see this in the next few problems. I'm going to have to pull out some greatest common factors here in just a minute using that negative 3 and negative 10. And I'm going to look ahead and think, okay, which number goes better with the 5, the 3 or the 10? In my opinion, the 10 goes better with the 5, and the 3 goes better with the 6. So when I rewrite my problem, I'm going to make sure that I group what makes sense together. All right, so step 3 is going to be to rewrite the problem using the two factors that you just found right here and put them back to replace that 13. Now this is where you have to remember to put your x's or your whatever variable you're working with back in there, because it's a lot of work up in the step 2 to have all those x's. So remember to put those back in. All right, from here I'm going to do step 4, which is to group them up. Grab 2, grab 2. Make sure you always, always, always grab that sign in front of that third term right there. Now, step 5 is GCF. Find the GCF of each one of these groups. In this case, the first one will be a 5x, because I can pull out a 5 out of both and an x. The second group will be negative, because you always want to grab the sign. So that's negative. And then what number? Well, the number 3. X isn't in both, so it's just the number 3. All right. Working my way through that, I'm going to divide this by 5x, this by 5x. Where did I get the 5x? It's my GCF. Divide this by negative 3 and this one by negative 3. And I have the GCF out front. And then what am I left with? 5x goes into 5x squared. I'm left with an x. 5x goes into negative 10, negative 2 times. Bring that negative 3 over. What am I left with? Negative 3 goes into negative 3x, x times, and negative 3 goes into positive 6, negative 2. So my answer is my GCFs And then what I like to refer to as, when I have twins, I know I've done something right, bring one of them down. And that's 6 steps. All right, let's work another one. This time we'll work with one that has has a negative c. All right, so we have 3p squared plus 7p minus 6. Same concept. You're going to go 3 times negative 6. Well, this time it equals a negative 18. So that's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to go negative 18. This time it has to add up to a positive 7. So, and only way that's going to happen is if I have 2 different signs. So we're going to go negative 1 times 18 or 1 times negative 18. Negative 2 times 9 or 2 times negative 9. Negative 3 times 6 or 3 times negative 6. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did in the other problem. 1 plus 18, negative 1 plus 18 is 17. 1 plus negative 18 is negative 17. Negative 2 plus 9 is 7, and 2 plus negative 9 is negative 7. Can I stop? Absolutely. I'm looking for a positive 7, and I got it. So my 2 factors are negative 2 and negative 9. I'm going to take a minute before I rewrite this problem, and I'm going to go back up here and look and go, okay, I've got a negative 2 and a negative 9. What makes sense? Does it make sense to put the 2 with the 3 or the 9? In my opinion, it makes sense to put the 9 with it and the 2 with the 6 because that's going to be easier when I pull out my GCF. So I will come back down here and I'm going to rewrite my problem. 3p squared plus 9p minus 2p minus 6. Again, that is my original problem, but I am replacing that positive 7 with a 9 and a negative 2, and that will give me my positive 7. All right, let's keep at it. Okay, I'm going to group these up. Always grab that sign right there. Grab that sign. Take out your GCF. So that was step 3 and 4. All right, step 5 is your GCF. What's your GCF in the first one? It's 3p. Your GCF in the second one is negative 2. All right, so I'm going to come in here, divide this by 3p, divide that by 3p, negative 2, negative 2. Remember, always grab that sign. That's what makes that negative. All right, so what am I left with? Bring down my GCF. 3p goes into 3p squared. You're left with p. 3p goes into 9p. You're left with a positive 3. Pull out that negative 2. What am I left with? Negative 2 goes negative 2p. P times. Negative 2 goes into negative 6, a positive 3 times. And there's my answer. Take my GCF. Take my GCFs, put them together, and then one set of those twins. And I am finished.